Hi, I'm Winnie Holzman, and I'm on Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan, a podcast.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Thanks for coming to Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan. So glad to have you back. This week we have a really fun guest, an amazing writer. I'll tell you more about her coming up, but first I just want to thank everybody for subscribing to the show, for liking the show, for writing reviews of the show. All of that helps, especially on YouTube. If you click subscribe on YouTube, then an angel gets his wings. Every time you subscribe, a bell goes off and an angel gets his wings. Write to me at dbawjk@gmail.com. That stands for Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan. dbawjk@gmail.com. With your compliments or complaints or listener questions, I want all of that. And I love to have a conversation with you, to just say hi. It'd be really great. And one last thing, there is a Substack, a Jay Kogan, Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan Substack. Get on that. It's free, and there's going to be interesting, fun, additional bonus material that you can get only there. So if you like the show and are a fan, let's start a community. Let's start hanging out and make this thing even bigger so I can make it a cult. I hear that's a good gig if you're a cult leader. So today's show, we have the great Winnie Holzman as our guest. Winnie is a talented writer, also an actress. She's written so many things. She's most famous for writing Wicked, the movie, and the play Wicked, musical. She's also famous for Once and Again. She worked on My SoCalled Life, 30-something. So great TV. Huge is one of her shows. She's really smart, really talented. And I've known her for, 20 years. And she's always been adorable. And she's always been great. And she's never seemed like one of Hollywood's top writers, but because of how she carries herself as just a very sweet person. But she turns out to be one of Hollywood's top writers. And we're going to ask her about her creative process. We're going to ask her how she chooses to work, how she fights her fear. We're going to talk about the process of making Wicked. We're going to talk about her amazing, talented husband, Paul Dooley, who's a really talented actor, and her daughter, Savannah, who's a really talented writer. And we're just going to really delve into all things Winnie Holzman. And you'll love her just like I do right after this.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
I'm Winnie Holzman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
You're a legendary writer who has created amazing TV shows, including My SoCalled Life, which is, people still to this day probably come up to you and hug you and say thank you for that TV show.
Well, I had a really fun experience just a few days ago where this past week I was doing a small acting role.
Yes.
On Mike Schur's new show,
The Man Inside.
There I was playing this small part that I got hired to do, which is like a miracle because I don't usually get hired to do acting.
Right.
And a lot of the writers were coming up to me with very, very kind and lovely,
Sure.
little words to me. And it did, first of all, I think I have this in common with you. I really love other writers. I love my fellow writers. So just really fun to meet them, first of all. But that they had such feelings of love for my show, it meant a lot to me.
It was a special show. It was a special show for sure. I mean, it's one of those things where it has been off the air for
30 years.
30 years, and it's still on people's lips as one of the great shows, and people still talk about it. And so it really, it had a very strong...
It made an impact.
It did.
And even when we were making it, like the crew and the drivers and just people that you thought of as not as emotional, which is a stereotype. It's not right for me to even think that way.
Well, it's kind of true. The Teamsters, generally speaking, are not the weepiest of people.
But those people were expressing to me. I remember when we as the pilot was wrapping, people were coming up to me, those kinds of guys,
right,
and saying
thugs. Right? Thugs.
And they were expressing how they felt about the show.
Right.
And it made me feel like, oh wow, if we did keep doing this,
Right.
this could potentially reach people in a nice way, in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I've worked on plenty of shows where the Teamsters don't come up to you and compliment you.
I've had it happen a lot, believe it or not.
Well, that's good. I do believe it.
But that's a great compliment.
Right.
You certainly want your fellow writers. I mean, that feels wonderful. But you also want people who maybe don't always let their heart be on their sleeve. Say like, that really meant a lot to me.
Well, interestingly enough, it's a show about a high school girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's you don't have to be. It's one of those shows you don't have to be a high school girl to involve yourself in it, in the story, and feel the pain that she's feeling, or the joy she's feeling, or the stories. And I could say the same thing about 30-something and some of these other shows that sort of really sort of captured the imagination of people. I watched 30-something, and I don't think I was 30-something.
Right? No, you couldn't have been. And I was.
Yeah, and about married people, and none of that stuff was stuff I was going through, but I was into the story.
These two guys, Marshall Herskovitz and Ed Zwick, they did something that was pretty outrageous, audacious, you could say. They just wanted to do a TV show that they felt was their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about that it sounds like such a simple idea.
Right.
I mean, now I guess it is
It's what all TV executives are asking for now.
Yeah, but back then,
write the story of your life.
That was kind of audacious.
Yes, right.
This idea of their just stepping up and going, we know that people don't think of this as what a TV show is supposed to be about, but we just think it's interesting, and we're going to do it. And there was something about that level of honesty and brashness, that really changed me.
Right. I read Ed Zwick's book, which was pretty great.
Great book.
And he talks about, the goal of that show was to try and be as honest as he could and take things from their life as they could. And anything that even struck slightly hacky or clammy, they would try to avoid as much as they could. But if it was real, they'd still do it.
I was going to say about Ed and his book Ed Zwick's book, is that I would recommend it to anyone listening who's interested in trying to do this.
Yeah, it's really worthwhile.
Because he has a lot of good advice, actually.
He comes at it from a very sort of artistic point of view, but also that he wants his shows to challenge society. Like, it's not just he's not just writing the truth. He's writing the truth. And is this a subject that is going to try to push society in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean,
and that's a big challenge. See, I'm much more like, is it true? Am I interested in it?
Right.
Because I don't really believe that much of our work is pushing society in the right direction or not. So
I don't know. I mean, I think this is a bit of a cliche, but the personal has become so political.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in other words, like, if you think about what happened recently, tragically, in this country, just on the subject of abortion.
Right.
The way when I was growing up, by the time I hit college, Roe v. Wade had happened, and there was this feeling of like, if you accidentally got pregnant and you didn't want to be, that didn't have to either destroy your life or put you in a dangerous criminal situation. It didn't have to be a scary disaster.
Right.
It could actually be something that you could just handle.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that got rolled back and stolen away in my lifetime is shocking to me on a personal level.
For sure.
And it's a political issue, quote unquote, but it's not a political issue. It's, when I think about just, in my own life, my life, when I had my abortion, my life would have taken a completely different turn if I had not been able to have a safe, legal abortion in New York City, where nobody looked at me funny. Nobody tried to talk me out of it. I could afford it. Wasn't even expensive. That was a blessing in my life.
Of course.
That's how I was able to do the rest of my life, honestly.
Right. So, but even if you're not going to become one of the world's greatest writers, if you just want to work at Target, you still should have the choice of what you want to do with your life and how you want to live it. And that's the shocking part. What's truly shocking now is that women especially aren't fighting to get this, we aren't fighting successfully to get this back somehow.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of women who are fighting for it.
I hope. I mean, I'm obviously politically trying to fight a lot of things that are happening, but it's just so much.
There's so much, but you have to. I mean, I don't mean to say you have to. I mean, you don't have to do anything, but it's like what I find for myself is I try to just find places where I think I can be of use or I think I can do some good, because it is like that. Now I'm going to sound like such a, I don't know, but there is that Talmudic, I think, saying in Judaism that if you save one life, you save the world.
That's right, yeah.
And that is a very meaningful idea to me.
Right.
That goes into my writing and also into anything I might do, socially in terms of trying to help people in the world. It's not quantity. It's really not about like how big a splash can you make. It's about like just trying to be used in some way for a greater good, even if it's just with one person or a time. And that's how I think about my writing too. It's like, well, that's how I think about My So-Called Life. Like when My So-Called Life was taken off the air after 19 episodes, they were, well, first of all, they were saying things like, well, it's only 9 million a week, and think what that what that would be like now. But I mean, when I was growing up on Long Island, 9 million people watching my show every week, that sounds very successful.
Right.
So it's like I had to refigure my whole way of thinking about my career, my success, what I believed in. And it was really great because I realized, like, I'm jumping around a lot, but Cameron Crowe, who I love, has this great line in Jerry Maguire, which is a movie I love, where he says, "I wish you my kind of success." And that's what I learned from that's one of the big things I learned from the whole My So-Called Life experience. I wished myself my kind of success. It wasn't about how long it was on the air. It wasn't about how many millions, it was, who cares?
Well, you're talking about something which is what's in your control and what's not in your control.
Correct.
The stuff that's in your control, you try to do your best. And if people like it and love it, great. And if it affects one person or 100 people, great.
Exactly.
None of that's in your control.
Exactly. Not in my control and not my business.
Right.
Like, it's truly not my business. My business is, that script, giving it my all,
But let's talk about that, the idea of, as a writer, giving what you think is, I don't know, a valuable story. I don't want to say wisdom, but a valuable story to people to see. We don't talk about masses of people. We talk about individuals.
I've said this once in a while to young students if I was asked. Like, let's say you're in an elevator with someone. If you just walk in and you're just standing next to this person, then you both get out of your floors. You could look at that person like, oh, that's just a businessman, or oh, that's just a delivery person, or whatever the stereotype is.
Right.
But if you got stuck in that elevator with that person, you would very soon be sitting on the floor together, looking into each other's eyes. You'd realize that you were really so alike.
For me, it would be hand-to-hand combat. I would decide who's the king of the elevator, and I'd make it happen. But maybe you'd be talking to somebody.
For me, it would be, I hope it's a delivery person. I hope they have food.
Right, exactly. It's Uber.
But you know what I mean? Like, when you get to that deeper place, everyone has so much in common. Everyone is so much alike. And that's what I think of as what I'm doing when I'm writing. I'm gonna, if it's gonna bring people together, not all people, it doesn't have to be all people. We already said that. We covered that. But it's like, if it's going to bring people together and give them a sense of communing and give them a sense that they're not so alone, that's going to be because you went to that deeper place where we all live.
Okay, so this leads me to my question. My show, Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan, is always about you, somebody smart, helping me with my problems. So let's talk about this, which is, how do you narrow down? My problem is I want to do 15 different things all the time.
Right.
And I want to write this and I want to write that, and I only have so much energy and time.
Right.
And that I have so many different projects that I want to do.
In your heart.
In my heart.
Right.
That I'm excited about.
It's beautiful.
Then how do you narrow down what it is? Is that a requirement for you? Is that this story has to be of value, or it just has to be
No,
you.
I mean, that value thing, I don't know what that even means. Like, in a way, that's something I would just take off the table.
Okay.
What I go to is, what's the one that I think about the most? What's the one that keeps stirring around in my head, where I feel like I'm already getting ideas about it. Or even, let's say you're not getting ideas, because that's my story a lot of times. Believe me, a lot of times I feel like, gee, I'd love to pay someone for an idea. Like,
Right.
what's an idea? I forget even how to
Right.
get one. But there's this sense that I have of, like, I can't let go of it. It's that Brokeback Mountain thing. I can't quit you. Like, I can't, like this pilot that I've written, that I'm hoping Claire Danes will do, that I'm hoping HBO will do, but we don't know.
The Applebaum Curse.
The Applebaum Curse.
Right.
This is something I got the idea for. It's got to be 25 years ago,
Right.
originally. But it has morphed and changed. And of course, I was doing other things, so it got left to
Right.
the side for, and I had like all these like sort of slightly incoherent, stacks of notes
Sure.
about it. I never had a treatment. I never had a pilot, because I still didn't understand it.
Right.
I didn't understand how I was going to write it. And I would say, and my daughter, who's also a writer who I love so much and also is a really good writer, and we've written together. She's my first reader, and she just kind of understands me and is great at this. One day I was just lying on my bed, literally despondent.
Really?
Saying to her, and this has happened to me with other projects too. I mean, I'm a bit of a case, but
Right.
I was like lying there going, I don't know what to do. I don't want to walk away from it, because
Right.
I feel like I still love it, but I don't think it's really a show. And I don't understand how this part of it, I won't say what it is, but this element and this element, I had these two elements,
Right.
and they didn't seem connected into one show.
And yet you knew they were connected.
I didn't want to do the show unless they were
Right.
connected.
Right.
And my daughter, because of all the reasons I just said,
Right.
she's really good at this, and she's really knows me, and she doesn't even remember the moment this happened, but she said, what if this character was this instead of this? She created a whole new character of what it could be. And the second she said it, it was just what people say, the cliche, a light bulb.
Yeah.
And I just was like a key in a lock. And after that, I believe, like, I don't know if HBO will do this Pocahontas show. I know Claire wants to do it. I know I want to do it. But I know now, well, I hate to say I know, I get so nervous. But I feel like I have a good shot at being able to write it now,
Right.
because it makes sense to me as a story.
You can say you understand it.
I understand
Yeah,
it.
sure.
I definitely understand it. And I wasn't there for a really long time. So what I guess what I'm trying to say is that some instinct in me wouldn't let go of it.
Right. But to me, I'm writing something, and almost always the thing I'm not writing is the thing that's a little bit attractive.
That to me is something else. That to me is, it always seems like it would be easier. The other thing always seems easier than the thing you're doing. I'll be watching TV and I'll go, why can't I think of an idea like that? I could write that
Right.
really well, but I've got to think of these crazy ideas that like don't make any sense and
Right.
are bad, and that people will make fun of because they're so bad. Like,
I spend a lot of time with my friends making fun of your writing, so it's weird that you knew about that.
it's a coincidence.
That we said we have coffee clatches.
That is such a coincidence. Yeah. But I guess that, I'm very sensitive, so I guess I
Right.
sensed it.
Well, I'm surprised of the picture of you sort of being stuck and lying on your bed, forlorn.
It's not
knowing
like
what-
that's an unusual
Well,
situation.
but I'm surprised that because you come from a theater background, like you, Princeton and master's group, but also from a comedy group background where ideas have to be explored, whatever they are.
There's a lot of fear that I live with, and I've lived with it for so long that it's become like a part of me. And this is weird to say, but the fear doesn't scare me like it used to.
Right.
Like, in other words, I used to really think that because I felt so frightened most of the time about writing, that it meant that I was not as good a writer as others.
Right.
But I've come to understand in my old age that it's actually just a natural part for some people, not everyone.
Oh, everyone.
Of the well, I know somebody.
Okay, they're psychopaths. Like if somebody says, "Oh, I'm fine, I got it, no problem," and everything I'm writing is great, it doesn't stink, this doesn't stink, this doesn't stink.
It is weird.
Then there's something very strange about that person.
And I'm not sure I'd want to read that person's work. I mean, honestly, but what I think I have worked on that I've tried to get better at and that I have gotten better at is I don't let it shut me down the same way. I take it more as like, oh, of course you feel that way. It's so normal. So normal. I normalize it.
Right. Writing through the fear of this stinks is what every writer goes through.
Yeah, I just don't let it stop me.
Right.
I think that is the key. I don't let it stop me.
Right. You have to schedule it. For me, I have to put it on a schedule. It also helps to tell somebody this will be done by a certain point in time.
I've done a lot of that.
Yeah.
I've also, done a lot of like, I fear I'm not going to write unless I make a date with one of my writer friends. Right. So we make a date and we write in, in the
same environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that has helped me a lot. If there's any people listening who are going like, I can't get myself to write, you make like a date. It's like, I can't get myself to take a walk. You make a date with a friend and you go, you're both good. But it only really works if you both want this, if you both want to be, get more done.
Right.
Because it can also descend into just let's just talk.
Talking,
and nothing wrong with that, but you have to make some promises.
Being accountable is very important.
Being accountable. I've got to say that I've done all of this really imperfectly. I want to make sure everyone listening understands that I've never felt particularly great at this. I feel like I've gotten better at it, which you can do. And like, for instance, Stephen Schwartz, who obviously an amazing person, who I wrote Wicked with, like he has an amazing work ethic. Stephen Schwartz is scarily brilliant in every way.
Right.
But he's also an amazing work ethic. Mm-hmm. And I started working with him in, I guess about in 1998 and that has really influenced me because, he just would push.
Yeah.
It influenced me a lot. And having people in my life who had a better work ethic than me.
Right. That's like playing tennis with better tennis players.
It is exactly that,
Yeah,
So
it's
and I made
important.
that joke one time. He was being honored somewhere and I couldn't go, but I made a little video and I said, he's made me a better tennis player and I don't even play tennis.
Right.
He actually does play tennis, so it made him laugh.
I recently attended a show where you and Paul it wasn't monologue, but just
we stood up and
really
did
funny.
stuff that we had written.
Right, and it was he was really funny, and you were really funny,
Thanks.
and it was both pieces felt polished, pretty well polished.
Oh, definitely.
And it did not feel like we're gonna see if the wording's right. The wordings were pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I don't like to stand up and say things that haven't been polished, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Like maybe when I was 22 in a comedy group, we would do, but even then we would work on it before we would present it,
Still to do that, and I know that you have the bug to be a performer and you love it, and you're like me, like I'll show up to do anything.
I love
anytime.
it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
You don't get asked enough. We need to be asked more. People watching, when you're casting, you should cast us in things. We'll show up on time.
Yeah.
We will know our lines. We won't be a problem. We might even pitch a line that you like. We don't know. But you should cast us in things. And we won't haggle over the price, all that stuff.
No, we'll pay you.
Yes, exactly. No, but it's one of those things where just like, cast me. I'll do it.
Definitely.
But it is so much fun to be a performer. It's freeing in such a different way. It's such a different kind of thing.
Yeah, it's what I noticed being on Mike Schur's set this past week with Morgan Sackett and Mike Schur and all those amazing people, and Ted Danson, who I'd never met before. What an amazing man! The
loveliest guy in the world, right?
What an amazing person, and masterful at what he does. What I noticed trying to do my little acting moments was as a writer who writes for actors, I constantly forget how hard it is what they do.
Yeah.
And the people that I've been working with who are, world class, because I've gotten really lucky about the actors I've worked with, they're working on a very high level, but it's really, what they do is really tricky.
Sure.
And I and it's really hard and takes a lot. And it's important for me as a writer to remember, I'm always thinking about what an actor needs, to make the scene, what will make the scene more interesting. But it's also, just to have that respect for
Well, all writers should have to go to acting class.
Totally.
Everybody should have to do it just to see how hard it is.
Totally.
It's not just, I'm going to read back the words you wrote.
No.
You have to process it and make it yours and make it real and do all this stuff that's really hard to do.
There's 8 different things going on, at least.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that gave me a lot. Not that I'm a great actor, I'm not, but that all the acting experience I've had has really fed my writing. No, there's without a question.
My new thing, now that you've mentioned it, is because Ted Danson is so beloved.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a feud with Ted Danson. I'm going to call him out. Ted Danson,
who do you think you are?
An asshole, and I hate you, and I dare you to come on this show and let's hash it out. Let's get hash it out. Every episode, I'm just going to call out Ted Danson.
Yeah, because who does he think he is?
I know.
Being so Ted Danson.
People like him. You know what? I don't. I don't like Ted Danson. Let's get back to Wicked. So Wicked, this gigantic phenomenon that has been a phenomenon for 30 years. I don't even know how long.
On Broadway, it's been for 22, I think.
Okay, so
almost.
For 22 years.
Almost.
And audiences have loved it.
And it's been all over the world.
Become a movie, and there's been many casts and many different things. But you got the opportunity to adapt the book into the musical, yes?
Right. Yeah. In other words, it was a novel.
Right.
It is a novel called Wicked by Gregory Maguire. And Stephen Schwartz had this brilliant idea that he wanted to make it into a Broadway musical. And I had coincidentally recently met with him because a mutual friend at Disney had thought, well, maybe the two of you could write a Disney movie music, animated musical together. And I was very thrilled to meet him. I had met him once before briefly in that program. He had come one day to speak. Right. He's only 8 years older than me, but he's, he started when he was 21 years old.
I know, he was just a...
So he's
he's a wonder kid.
He's a master.
Yeah.
And he is a master of what he does.
Yeah.
And, Stephen will forget more about musicals than most people will ever learn. He just knows a lot about them. So at that little lunch at Disney with the Mickey Mouse ears on the butter,
Sure.
I was just dazzled just to be near him, honestly. And he started talking about this novel Wicked and saying it's just such a shame that it's not available because that's such a great idea for a musical. And I was like, Wicked, yeah, I haven't read it, but I've heard about it. And he said, well, Winnie, it's such a shame because they've already started Demi Moore's company at Universal is already started. They already have making a script. And then he called, we parted. I didn't think anything of it. And then a few months later, he called me out of the blue and he just said, well, you're not going to believe this. I think I've convinced Mark Platt to not make it into a non-sing, because they were going to make it into a non-musical movie, and to let me make it into a Broadway show. A lot had to happen. He had to go to Gregory and explain what he wanted to do and get Gregory's blessing. And one of the great things in our situation is that Stephen was wise enough to know that he needed to ask Gregory. He said, listen, if you say yes to this, the way in which it has to work is Winnie and I go off and do it, and this isn't going to be like your novel,
right?
And he said to him, we promise to stay true to the spirit of your novel, but it will not be identical to your novel, because how could it be? And the thing about the movie that's been fascinating is the timing of the movie. I had so many people who sort of knew me and people who barely knew me would come up to me at parties or whatever many times and say, what happened? Why is there no movie yet? We feel so sorry for you. It was like as if some tragedy had happened, or that that word development hell, which is not what happened. What happened was the movie wasn't ready yet.
Right.
And I wasn't ready yet. Stephen wasn't ready yet. And it wasn't quite taking shape. But that doesn't mean that we were in development hell. We were having a process.
Right.
We were learning a lot. And then when John Chu came in, it was like getting on a rocket. It was like, and John Chu was like, yeah, now we're going to, let's make the movies and let's make it be 2 movies. And John Chu was like filled with ideas and a powerhouse.
Right.
And that's when it all came together.
How did the 2 movies idea, how did that come to be?
It was really organic, and it took forever to make the real decision.
Yeah.
We thought about it for so long, but it really had to do with the fact that we wanted to be able to get, a lot of it had to do with, we didn't want to take away anything that existed in Wicked that people loved. Like, we didn't want one of his songs to be missing from the movie.
Right.
But yet we wanted to add. We wanted to be able to take more time with certain moments. We wanted to be able to show things that you couldn't see on stage. We wanted to show a lot of stuff that you couldn't see on stage. All that's time. Then we were also hoping Stephen would write some new songs for it. How is all this going to be crammed into one movie? After a while, and for a long time, I fought it. I really did. I was one of the people that were going, I don't know, because I really felt like, is it going to feel like the same experience? The big ingredient was John Chu, because John Chu was he felt confident. When someone that talented looks at you and they go, I know how to do this. You really feel like, oh, well, if you know how to do this, I'm going to put my faith in you.
Crazy Rich Asians is almost a musical. I mean, it's like everything he makes is a musical.
Yeah. Well, this is his DNA. He was a dancer. He also was filming dancers a lot. He's very musical person. Yeah. He's pretty fucking talented.
I would say so. I would say so.
And he's a great person.
All his movies are great, and what he did with Wicked is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's literally gorgeous. The movie's fantastic. I cannot wait for part 2. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you.
I love your appearance in part 1. By the way,
thank you. That was me.
Yes.
In a very tall wig.
When I was watching the movie, all I could imagine was the craft service must be great on that. If they're doing this kind of beautiful set design and everything's so good, I bet the craft service is fantastic.
They were nice people. That's what I remember. They were very, very friendly, sweet people. Everyone was happy to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they probably knew they were making something special.
I think that was the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's been so many years in the making, so many people waiting for it to happen.
I mean, this is such cliche, but timing is everything, as we know. And the timing felt so right. It felt so right. And, if the timing had been different, we wouldn't have been able to have Ariana and Cynthia.
Right.
I mean, think of that. I mean, how can you think of that movie without Ariana and Cynthia? So it's like, or those movies, I mean. I'm still trying to remember.
That movie, those movies, yeah.
Yeah, and also John's still, editing the movie.
For sure, yeah.
So.
How did you take the story from the book and decide what was going to be the play?
Well, it started with, Stephen lives on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. So it started with long phone conversations. We would have these lengthy conversations, and whenever we were on each other's coast, we would get together and we would talk and talk and talk about the things in the book that we knew we had to keep. The things that in the book that we felt were just, well, I'll just say them. Gregory came up with, the whole idea of Wicked is pretty genius.
Right.
And there are things that he came up with that are just amazing, like the idea that the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda the Good Witch were college roommates. That's in his book. I didn't come up with that. That's an amazing idea. When I read that, I was just like, to me to Stephen too, that was gold.
Right. There's a book called Grendel, about a drag. Where you the misunderstood.
You feel for that monster.
The misunderstood literary figure who's portrayed as the villain, and then when we dig deep inside, we realize, oh no, there are no monsters, there are no villains, they're just people who have stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of the deep appeal of Wicked. And also in our case, in our story, this person is used, and the fact that their skin is a different color, as an odd color, is used to try to prove that they're evil.
Right.
And
that could be a metaphor for something else. I can't put my finger on it.
Think about it. I don't know if it ever
over my head.
I don't know if it ever happens in real life.
I don't think it's possible that happens in real life. Anyway, it's cool that you made this sweet little story.
It's funny because when the second one comes out, I think a lot of the people that have seen the movie never saw the Broadway show, because
of course.
Yeah, and so they don't realize what's coming, right. And it gets a lot more political, and it gets a lot more serious because the two women are involved in something that's very serious.
Sure. I know that as you're writing it, you guys are working on it together. Did Stephen say, here are the moments where I think a song might tell the story better than?
Well, we would talk that through, and we would say, he had some ideas from even before, on his own, before he even came to me and officially wanted me to be with him. He had already given some thought, and he had this idea, which was so wonderful, which is that it would start with a version of Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. Mm-hmm. It was like another version of that. And so I had a head start because he came in with a lot of thoughts. And he said, he said to me from the very beginning, he said, at the end of Act 1, she should fly for the first time. And, so that's like we had these stakes in the ground of what the story shaped. Right. But we just talked and talked through every moment. And I found, I showed this to him a while ago. I found a very, very early treatment that we had, and things changed, but I would call it declunkified. Mm-hmm. Like we always had the same story basically, but we together we found ways to tell the story more and more and more, hopefully elegantly. Mm-hmm. And this took forever, as you can imagine. Right. Yeah.
Well, editing takes forever. That's just what it is.
It just took forever, and it was upsetting at times. Right. And then doing the movie, one of the things that would sometimes drive me crazy, although it was a lucky break to be able to actually adapt the movie, and not be cut out of the process. Right. But I'd be saying to myself, wait a minute, I solved this like 20 years ago. Right. Like,
and we're doing it again.
It was almost like a weird science experiment. Like, why do I have to now resolve like every beat of this story? Right. But I did.
It's amazing, and I'm so glad that it's so beautiful, and so glad that it's so well received.
Thank you. It's been amazing. The reception and the way people have responded from their hearts. Yeah. It's been, we could not have imagined it. It.
That's
it's been amazing.
Yeah. So let's talk for a moment about Paul.
About my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now Paul Dooley, one of the great actors, comedic actors, and wonderful person, improviser.
Amazing improviser.
An amazing improviser. I've seen him do it for many years, and he is fantastic. Now you and he have this amazing life of romance, and you have this incredible age gap between you.
Yes, we have a big fat age gap of 26 years.
And it seemingly doesn't matter. How does it not matter?
I don't want to be flippant. I mean, there's ways in which it hasn't taken away from our love for each other. We've been married for this fall to be 41 years. We're very compatible. Mm-hmm. But there are ways in which, we speak different languages at times. The age gap has come and gone, you might almost say.
Okay. He's talking about the Mills Brothers and you're talking about the Beatles? What is what's the issue?
My music that I would love is not his music.
My wife and I are almost exactly the same age, and the music I love is not necessarily
Well, see, that makes me feel better almost. Like, there's ways in which I think I sometimes liken it to if and we also are culturally, he was born in West Virginia from a really small town, comes from a really, I'm not going to say impoverished because they weren't starving or anything, but they had nothing. Mm-hmm. They didn't have.
That sounds pretty impoverished. Nothing sounds pretty impoverished.
They didn't have indoor plumbing. Okay, Paul didn't have indoor plumbing. Paul didn't have a doctor that he would go see. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, Paul didn't have books in his house. Right. We're such different people. Mm-hmm. I always say, like, it doesn't seem on paper like it would work. Right. but it has just worked.
Don't put it on paper. Then you'll be fine. Just keep it off the paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Paul is paper trained, so luckily, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
But we genuinely, I think, not just love each other. We do love each other, but we genuinely enjoy each other's company, and we just make each other laugh.
That's great.
I would say that's a cliche about marriage.
Who makes more jokes, you or him?
Well, definitely Paul does.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because Paul's whole world is jokes.
Right.
His whole way of communicating is jokes, and he doesn't really want to live in a world that isn't, funny in that way. But if I make Paul laugh, see, Paul doesn't really laugh. The way a lot of comics don't laugh.
Right.
They don't laugh.
Yeah.
Their expression doesn't change. They just say that's funny.
Right.
So Paul is like that. He's very repressed, and he doesn't laugh.
Right.
So if I make him laugh, I feel
that's a great victory.
It is a great victory, and I feel really funny. And I have gotten funnier living with him, I think, because I've wanted to make him laugh.
Right.
So I think that muscle, I maybe I can't play tennis, but I have
you can make
honed.
The jokes.
I can make jokes. Yeah.
It's now time for the listener mail.
Now it's time for listener mail.
Dear Jay and guest, how important is it to leave a legacy of your work behind you when you die? Is it more important to do that than to simply achieve happiness and being a kind person? This is from Stuart.
Oh, I feel like it's just much more important to be a kind person. I think kindness is the most important thing of all. I really do. I think, especially now, our world has gotten really, really harsh and cruel. And I guess the world always was harsh and cruel.
Right.
But it's obvious now. And I think kindness, I don't know even what means a legacy. I mean,
that's a good question.
I'm not really that interested in that. I mean,
I would think that Wicked, we were talking about My So-Called Life, would talk about some of these things that have had legs, that it means something to a lot of people, and Wicked will mean something to a lot of people for many, many years.
Well, that's certainly a blessing in my life.
But it will, and this is not diminishing your work, at some point, sometime, it will be forgotten.
Everything goes away.
Right.
Exactly.
It will be forgotten. And what's left over maybe is the good and the goodwill that it created.
That it created,
right?
Hopefully.
It added to the love of the world or whatever that is.
Well, so that you don't want to, I don't want to be part of something that creates more havoc and more pain. I mean, if possible.
Right.
I do want to create.
Well, then don't work with Ted Danson again. But yes, I totally agree.
It makes me laugh every time because he's
like, so nice. I know he's so nice. He has you fooled. He is. He's rotten to the core.
He is a really nice guy.
Right. But yeah, no, I don't think. I feel like we'll all be forgotten. I feel like.
And it's okay.
And it's fine.
I mean, what makes me feel good is knowing that I gave everything I had.
Right.
I don't want to feel like I phoned anything in. I don't want to feel like I kind of let myself or my team down. I want to feel like I gave. That's why I feel great about the Wicked movies, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about the Wicked movies, for me, on a personal level, has to do with me knowing that even times when it was scary or hard or just I was overwhelmed by it, I just never stopped giving.
Right.
And so did everybody else, by the way. I'm not alone in that. And I think that's my legacy.
I like to give what I can, but I also don't want to, as I've grown up, become a little older, I become less insistent
on your way.
On my way.
Me too, because when I talk about showing up, part of showing up is also going, let other people talk.
Right.
Listen really hard. Realize that the idea that you heard just now from John Chu, that you go like, oh, I don't know. When you, in a few hours or in a day or two, you're going to realize, oh, of course, that I get it. Right. That it's going to feel discordant at first because it didn't come from you, but it's like, I've really, it's humbling. It's humbling to realize that, it's okay to just showing up can mean that you don't talk too much sometimes.
Right. Not me, but other people.
Exactly.
I'm going to talk plenty.
I excuse myself from that too. Yeah. If I'm not talking, am I really alive?
No, you're alive. Well, that's okay. Well, Stuart, that's your answer to that. Now we're going to do the moment of joy.
A moment of joy.
Okay.
It can't be your family, and it can't be...
Those are the big ones.
It can't. I know. It can't be your family. It can't be work.
Okay.
But what else brings you joy?
Can you have two things?
Sure.
Okay. So one is that ever since the pandemic, we completely stopped, of course, just like everyone else, going to the movies. And Paul and I used to go to the movies like a lot, like at least once a week.
Right.
And so after all those long time, those many months of never going to the movies, when you start to be able to go to the movies again, and it's not about how good the movie is for me. It's like often we go with my cousin and his wife, who we're close with. And we don't go that often anymore. That's the thing. It's like now it's this special thing.
Right.
And it gives me a feeling of childlike happiness to be able to go to the movies. And I can't believe that I used to take it so for granted, because now it's actually like a big event to me.
It is an event. But I mean, sometimes I went to go see the Phoenician Scheme or whatever, the Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 people in the theater. It wasn't an event. Like it was
right. It felt a little sad.
It was a little sad. It was like I should have stayed in my living room and just watched it.
But sometimes you go and it's like really exciting.
So what's the other joyous moment of joy that you have?
This also sounds a little silly, but when I take a shower, I marvel at it, because I sometimes think to myself, this is really great. There's people that can't take a shower. There's a lot of people that don't have running water. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I live basically in a spa with the hot and cold running water and all this soap and all these like nice fluffy towels, it makes me feel so lucky. And I really love taking a shower. Plus, as writers, we know often you can get a really good idea in the shower.
Of course.
Water is very conducive. Running water is very relaxing, of course, but it's very conducive to your subconscious kind of coming up with things.
Right.
So sometimes I've found that it's just this marvelous place where I feel, I just come out of that shower and I feel wonderful.
I imagine any activity that's not writing is conducive to good story ideas, because you're freeing yourself of the burden
like
of
driving, like doing the dishes,
and cooking a meal,
making soup,
taking a walk.
If you know how to make the soup, like taking a walk. Yeah, I do feel I love those things anyway. For there's something about doing something that is easy to do, but it has a practical, helpful aspect to it, like doing the dishes.
And the thing about the shower is a hot shower, hot water coming out of the pipe.
Oh my God. It's a miracle.
We middle class and lower class Americans live better than most kings have lived for the last, thousands and thousands of years.
Jay, I think about this. I really do. And I love showers, and I love I'm grateful for my showers.
Well, that's fantastic. I should try a shower sometime. I've not done it yet, but
don't rush into anything.
We'll see. We'll see.
Take it slow.
I'm told that we have one in my house, so we'll see. Well, Winnie, this has been a delight.
Thank you. It's
so
been really
much.
Fun for me.
A big fan, of your work, but when I think I got to know you on the Writers Guild Foundation board, and you found out that you were actually a good person, which is also really nice. So it's been great getting to know you even better here today, and you're so kind to come, and I'm
loved it.
Looking forward to more of your work and more just hanging out. This has been fantastic, and thank you for being here. Don't be aloners, or whatever we call you, whatever the listeners of the show, Alone Bones. We love you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for watching, and please feel free to email me at dbawjk@gmail.com if you have a suggestion or a comment or a question, or listener mail question. I would appreciate it. And if you can spend any time in this week talking to somebody in person and having a conversation, your life would be so much better, and so would theirs. So take the time to try and do that, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.
Don't be alone.